So good evening, friends. We start with today's session, and we have to start with new chapter from Kant's philosophy. In last chapter, he has discussed about the aphorism 6 and some part of the seventh aphorism, the totality of the symptoms. So he explained about the unprejudiced observation, how to go ahead with unprejudiced nature, even though it is quite difficult, one has to achieve, and how one can learn to develop this quality in the as a homeopath. Giving importance to the totality of the symptoms, giving importance to the altered state of health expressing in the form of signs and symptoms, we can achieve that. And then after explaining all those things, at the same time telling that the pathologies are not at all important, they are only the end results. Ultimately, you have to dependent upon the functional symptoms of the patient. And then he explains you have to give so much of importance to the totality of the symptoms, which is expressed externally and which is caused due to the internal dynamic derangement of the vital. And then he starts this new chapter, that is chapter number 7. It is related with the concept of indisposition. It is related with the footnote to paragraph number 7, indisposition and the removal of their cause. So what he says, in the footnote to paragraph 7, Hahnemann writes, it is not necessary to say that every intelligent physician would first remove this exciting or maintaining cause, in bracket cause occasionalis, where it exists. The indisposition thereupon generally ceases spontaneously. See, this is very simple logical application of the intelligence. If there is a case where there is a maintaining cause, where there is a indisposition because of such type of exciting or maintaining cause, it is necessary to remove it first. If you remove it and disease vanish, there is no more need to go for medicine. Even Stuart Close also explained the same thing in when he has written the Dex exclusion criteria. The first thing which he has explained, whenever the in a case, if there is any indisposition caused due to the exciting cause is there is no need to give homeopathic remedy. Then second exclusion criteria which he has added over there, that if you remove this exciting cause by physical means, chemical means, biological means, and the disease never exists, then there is no need of homeopathic remedy. So this is so simple. Every intelligent physician should look toward that totality of symptoms, whether there is any exciting or maintaining cause present over there. If it is there, remove that first and then go ahead. So what he says further, you have, I believe, been led to conclude that there are apparent diseases. Apparent means similar, visible, which are not diseases, but disturbed states that may be called indispositions. A psoric individual has his periods of indispositions from external causes, but these external causes do not inflict the sore upon him. Such a patient may disorder his stomach from abusing it and thus create an indisposition. So this is quite common. Many a times, if you consume a big amount of spice because it was tasty, next day you suffer from the gastritis or vomiting or acid peptic trouble. The simple thing is that you have to ask the patient to stop that and don't give any medicine. It itself will disappear. This is so simple. This is so logical because you know here the material entity which has caused that thing. Indispositions from external causes mimic the miasms. It is similar to miasms. It looks like, but it is not there. That is, their group of symptoms is an imitation of the miasmatic manifestation. But the removal of external cause is likely to restore the patient to the health. So if the patient comes to you with a cough and he is smoking, it is your duty first to ask him to stop the smoke. Automatically cough vanishes. There is no need to give the any medicine. Business failures, depressing tribulations, unrequited affections producing suffering in young girls are apparent causes of disease, but in reality, they are only exciting causes of indispositions. The active cause is within, and apparent cause of the sickness is without. So he is explaining two important things. Visible cause is external. Visible cause is in such a manner, but active cause is always lies inside. If a man had no sora, no deep mathematic influence within his economy, he would be able to throw up all these business cares. He would not become insane from the business depression, and the young girl would not suffer so from love affairs. You have a vital force. You have a miasm inside you. You are sorry. That's why you are susceptible. That's why you react. So something happens in your life, and when it affects your vital force, then it reflects in such a manner, and such a cause is a dynamic cause. So love affairs, failure in love affairs, it affects you internally. Nothing material goes inside, and still immediately you starts reacting. That becomes a dynamic affection of your vital force. But when things are rather different, when anything goes materially inside your body, in the form of such a smoke, in the form of such a spicy food, in the form of such hazardous material entity you have consumed, and you get either a cough, either a vomiting, either a diarrhea, anything, that is because of visible entity which has been ingested. If you remove that, its patient will automatically get settled. But when the things are dynamic, then it requires the treatment. Then you cannot bring them immediately to the normal. If a man had no sora, no deep mathematic influence within his economy, he would be able to throw up all these business cares. He would not become insane from business depression. The young girl would not suffer so from love affairs. There would be an orderly state. The physician then must discriminate between the causes that are apparent or external, the grosser things, from the true causes of diseases, which are from center to circumference. So here there are two varieties of causes. One is apparent, which are visible, material, gross. Those causes indisposition, those can become exciting causes, and where there is no direct dynamic derangement of the vital force. But there are true causes which affects your vital force, and true causes are always dynamic. They are in at the emotional level. They affects you at the intellectual level. They disturbs your mind, and when your vital force gets disturbed because of it, they are the real diseases. So there are two varieties of acute diseases. One caused because of such a mimicking sicknesses, and one caused because of original dynamic derangement of vital force. The physician then must be discriminate between the causes that are apparent or external, the grosser theme, from the true causes of disease, which are from center to circumference. In every instance where Hahnemann speaks of true sickness, he speaks of it as a miasmatic disease. But here he employs another word. Then it is indisposition usually yields of itself, or if the soric condition has been somewhat disturbed, order can be restored by a very few doses of homeopathic remedy. If it has caused disturbance to the internal economy. So if indisposition of a violent character happens, then it definitely requires a medicine. For example, a patient who has consumed such a spicy food and he has started getting vomiting, and there are one vomiting, two vomiting, and patient goes on vomiting for 15, 20 times. Then it is the duty of homeopathic physician to administer homeopathic remedy, because it is not a indisposition of a mild character. You have to discriminate this also, that whether the indisposition is of mild character or it is of violent character. If it is of a mild character, just removing the exciting cause, patient will bring back again to the state of health. But if it is of violent character, it requires a medicine, a homeopathic remedy. To illustrate, if a man has disordered his stomach, it will write itself on his ceasing to abuse it. But if the trouble seems somewhat prolonged, a dose of medicine like Naxomica or whatever remedy is indicated will help the stomach to right itself. And so long as he lives in an orderly way, he will cease to feel this indisposition. So, if it is of a strong character, violent character indisposition is there, he requires medicine. But if it is not of a violent character, then it never requires the medicine. So this understanding should be there. This clear thought should be there in your mind. And then it is possible to get exact idea. So discrimination between real causes of the diseases and the mimicking or apparent causes of diseases, that is first thing you have to do. If even though if it is apparent cause, whether it is acute or mild character indisposition is there, or a violent character of indisposition is there. If it is mild character, no need of giving medicine, just remove the apparent cause. But if it is of strong violent character, then it requires the homeopathic remedy. So these are the very clear-cut ideas which he mentions. And these thoughts should be very clear in our mind when we deal with the patients. Okay. What he further says, the physician will remove from the room strong smelling flowers which have a tendency to cause syncope and hysterical suffering. Many examples in that footnote Hahnemann have given. These are the examples which Hahnemann have given. And this is the thing. If you know this is exciting cause, you just remove it. There are some nervous girls who are so sensitive to the flowers that they will faint from the odor. There are other individuals who are so sorry in their nature that they cannot live in the ordinary atmosphere. Some must be sent to the mountains, some to the warm land, some to the cold land. This is removing the occasioning cause and the apparent aggravating cause of suffering. So this is just removing the patient from that exciting cause. If you remove and patient settles, well and good. If it recurs again and again, then he requires the medicine. Consumptive means a person who is having tuberculosis. Consumptive means a consumptive in the advanced stages. One who is steadily running down in Philadelphia must be sent to the climate where he can be made comfortable. The external or apparent cause, the disturbing cause in his sick state is thus removed, but the cause of his sickness is prior to this. The physician does not send the patient away for the purpose of curing him, but for the purpose of making him comfortable. So if the disease is caused because of real cause, that is the dynamic cause, then it is necessary to treat that patient by any means with proper remedy. At that time, sending the patient outside will not going to cure. It might give the comfort to the patient, but it will not cure the patient. This difference one should understand, and that's why he has given you example of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis will not going to clear itself without giving a medicine. It will require medicine because it is a pseudosyphilitic disorder, a mixed miasmatic trait. The physician does not send the patient away for the purpose of curing him, but for the purpose of making him comfortable. He will extract from the cornea the foreign body that excites inflammation of the eye, loosen that over-tight bandage over the wounded limb that threatens to cause mortification, lay bare and put ligature on the wounded artery that produces painting, endeavor to promote the expulsion by vomiting of belladonna berries, etc., that may have been swallowed. So these are the all examples which are given by Hahnemann in this footnote 2, paragraph 7. And all these are examples of the exciting or maintaining causes. So if the person comes to you with watering and burning in the eyes, and if you observe there is a foreign body on cornea, it is necessary to remove that foreign body. Giving a medicine will not going to clear the foreign body. It is a simple technique that you have to remove that and you have to keep the eye closed for 24 hours. If you don't keep it, next day there will be a corneal opacity, because then corneal ulcer might develop. If it gets infected, it will produce opacity, forever vision loss. If you are removing the corneal foreign body, there is need to keep the eye closed for 24 hours. Within 24 hours, the healing happens and there will be no more problem. But you must know all those things. If you know them properly, then you can work in a right manner logically. If there is a swelling on the hand and if you had put a very tight ligature, that edema is because lymphatics gets blocked, vessels gets blocked. At that time, giving a piece is not the answer. Just remove that tight bandage and the circulation will again come into normal. So these are the things which Hahnemann mentions are very clear, and these things you have to look for in your patients. Now, without the circumstances and surroundings in which Hahnemann stated these things, it has been it has been asserted in the public prints that Hahnemann advises emetics. So Hahnemann, he has given last example of remove the belladonna berries. If a person has consumed by mistake belladonna berries always causes severe colic. So it is necessary to remove them. If you remove them, there will be no more colic. Colic can be stopped. And for that purpose, Hahnemann said that you have to remove them by giving emetics. People have considered this. Hahnemann have also asked to give the emetics. So people without understanding the concept behind the things makes criticism. And this is what Kant says, that such a thing is absolutely a foolish thing. Now, without circumstances and surroundings in which Hahnemann stated these things, it has been asserted in public print that Hahnemann advises emetics. A class of so-called physicians have taken this note of Hahnemann's for a clock as means of covering up their scientific rascality. He has criticized them with very bad words. Covering up their scientific rascality, their use of external application. They tell us Hahnemann said so, but we see it becomes a lie. So Hahnemann have not explained to use the emetics. This is according to the situation and circumstances. It is a need because something has ingested, then it is removed. But every time he has not said to give the emetics. So these are the things which happens to be there in the field of homeopathy, that you get criticized many times because people never understands what exactly the person has said. Here is another note. In all times, the old school physicians, not knowing how else to give relief, have sought to combat and, if possible, to suppress by medicines here and there a single symptom from among a number of diseases. This is again given by Hahnemann in the same footnote to the paragraph 7, single symptom. And this was the method which is followed in allopathy many times. Basically, in antipathy, they used to consider only one symptom out of totality and give the medicine against that because there is only one medicine available to combat that specific symptom. So if the patient has constipation, they give purgatives. Rest of the symptoms they never take into consideration. For time being, patient might be settled because of giving the purgatives, he might get the stool. But rest of the features, rest of the disease goes on increasing. So he has criticized this method that just treating on the single symptom is not the treating the patient or curing the patient. Here, this course of singling out a group of symptoms and treating that group alone as a disease is incorrect, but it has no due relation to the entirety of the man. Group of symptoms may arise through the uterus and vagina, and one who is of this understanding that understanding has a plan for removing only the group of symptoms that belongs to his specialty, whereby he thinks he has eradicated the trouble. Hahnemann condemns that doctrine. Condemns means he criticized that doctrine. That is very important. He criticized that doctrine. Hahnemann condemns this doctrine, and we would at once, it's great folly. In many instances, there are at same time manifestations of heart disease, liver disease, etc. And that is speaking in their term. These are not diseases at all, as we know, so that every specialist might be consulted and each one would direct the assault at his own particular region And so the particular patient goes the rounds of all specialists, and the poor man dies. This is the state of modern medicine. Everyone looks towards only one their part. The ophthalmologist looks towards the eyes, the ENT specialist looks towards his own parts, the gynecologist looks towards their own specific parts of the patient. And what do? They rob the organs. So patient is having tonsillitis, the ENT specialist removes the tonsil. Then patient has appendicitis, the surgeon removes the appendix. Then patient might have problems with the female genitally tract, the gynecologist removes the uterus. What do? They never takes into consideration the whole case. They takes into consideration the only a disease part, and removing that part, they consider they are curing the patient. And this never happens. This is not the way with which you cure the patient. Treating one single symptom is not the method with which you cure the patient. And that's why he says, in many instances, there are at the same time manifestations of heart disease, liver disease, etc. That is, speaking in terms, these are not diseases at all, as we know. So that every specialist might be consulted, and each one would direct assault. Assault means halla karni, assault at his own particular region. And so the patient goes the round of all specialists, and the poor man dies. An old allopathic physician once made the remark about the case of pneumonia that he was treating, that he had broken up pneumonia. Yes, said another physician, the pneumonia is cured, the patient is going to die. Another physician said, the pneumonia is cured, but the patient is going to die. That is the way when one of these group of symptoms is removed. Constipation may be removed by physic. Liver symptoms may sometimes be removed temporarily by big dose of calomel. Ulcers can be so stimulated that they will heal up, but the patient is not cured. Anyone says it is strange that physician cannot see that the removal of these symptoms is not followed by cure, that the patient is worse off for it. So if you remove one by one these symptoms with these particular symptoms locally, you will not going to cure. Even though you remove that organ, you will not going to cure the patient. Because you are treating single symptom. And if you try to treat single symptoms, it is not at all producing a cure. And patient will only temporarily palliated, followed by an aggravation of his complaint. And this method he has condemned and criticized a lot. And then what he says, some patients are not sufficiently ill to see immediately the bad consequences of the closure of fistulas opening. But if the patient is threatened with thesis or is weakly patient, the closure of that fistulous opening of the anus will throw him into the flame of excitement and will cause his death in a year or two. This is very commonly happened. People go for surgeries, fistula in ano, surgery is done, and within some days, all of a sudden, patient dies because of some heart problem, some brain problem. They doesn't understand this is what the metastasis is. The disease has already, the nature has produced opening on the externalmost part, because of which the toxins were getting thrown away, and that fistula was a real cure which has been developed by the nature. What do? You seal that fistulous opening, you transmit that disease from very less important organ, from the skin to inside, and a vital organ is affected, and all of a sudden patient dies, and then they don't know. Then they start finding it out where the fault is, whether it is at the heart, whether it is at the brain, or whether it is somewhere else, but they never know that it is the metastasis which has happened because of closing the fistulous opening. The more rugged ones will live a number of years before they break down, and they are held up as evidence of cure, evidences of cure. Such treatment is not based upon principles, and close observation will convince a thoughtful man of its usefulness, uselessness, and danger. The fistulous openings came there because it was of use. And probably, if it had been permitted to exist, would have remained as a vent until the patient was cured. So whenever fistula happens naturally, that fistula has reason to throw away toxins from the body from that specific area, and to maintain the health of the person, the fistula's opening is there. Closing that will create the problem, and that's what he is explaining. The people never understand this. When the patient is cured, the fistula's opening ceases to be of use. The necessity of it for it to remain open has ceased, and it itself heals up itself. And this is what happens when you treat fish. If you are treating it internally without closing it directly, and if there is no need, body itself closes the fissulas. And you can see this many times. You give the internal treatment, there is no need to seal that fistula, and it heals right from inside. Till the need is there, it is there. If the need has disappeared, there is no more need, and then it closes itself. So very clear ideas about the disorders which he explains over there regarding the understanding of all those disorders. I think we'll stop over here. We'll conclude the meeting here. Tomorrow we'll conclude this chapter where again the concepts of diseases becomes very clear in your mind. So thank you being there. We'll meet at 8:30 with the same remedy, Cilicia terra. And Cilicia terra is big remedy. I think we have learned two more sessions with the Cilicia. Today I will finish that the third session and we'll learn a lot regarding it. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone were present for this session. We'll meet again at 8:30. Is it okay? Any query,
Okay, sir.
question? So we'll conclude the session and we'll meet at 8:30. Sure. Thank you.